All right, welcome back to Waste Some Time with Jason Green. I am Jason Green, bringing you new music interviews. You can check out the channel. There's like 50 of them there now, and you can subscribe as well. Today, we are talking to Courtney Cox of the Iron Maidens, and we'll do that right after this. Just wanna waste some time with you. Sometimes it seems too good to be true. Nobody out there to waste time with you. When I came up with the name Waste Some Time, I didn't realize that I would never want to waste any time. I want to get right to the point. Who needs long introductions? Here she is, Courtney Cox.
I'm going to be the one that wastes your time right now.
Hey, listen, it'd be nice for a change.
Hey, I can know you that one. Well,
So I got to say, thank you for taking time out from your taxes to join us.
I know. That's why, sorry. Pajamas. I did shower, though. I did shower. Hair is still dry.
I was going to say, you know, we're all stuck at home, but I did put on deodorant for this interview, and I didn't do that for Jeff Pilson, just so you know.
I did not. But I did just shower, but I could tell I did not put deodorant on, but it's all right.
All right. Well, I have to work harder than you do, so you already have the built-in reputation. So, Courtney, before we go too deep into this, it seems like a no-brainer that there's going to be some people who are tuning in right now who want to find out about the Friends reunion and want to hear you talk all about Ross and Rachel, and they might be disappointed. So let's trace back your name, because Courtney Cox is your real name. And
yes, unfortunately. But actually, I spell it differently from the actress. So I'm Courtney Cox. She's Courtney Cox. And you don't know how much I have to untag myself every day on social media, because even her biggest fans, the actress, get the name wrong. It's just very annoying.
Yeah, well, I think your spelling is the correct spelling personally, but that's just me.
Like I said, that Bruce Springsteen video ruined my life. Well, that's dancing in the dark.
That's what I was thinking, because I was glad to see you do it, though. When you were born, that video was already out. You're a young lady. She was already dancing with Bruce Springsteen. So your parents had to know who Courtney Cox was.
No, it was pre that. They had no idea who she was. So props to my parents.
Yeah, they thought it was a good name.
Well, my first name was supposed to be Crystal. Then my dad's like, no, Crystal Cox. No, you're just signing our daughter up for a different career.
Yeah. Your dad's trying to keep you off the pole.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, Courtney, at the end of the day.
So when did you first become aware that there was an actress named Courtney Cox?
Oh, and I never watched Friends. It probably wasn't until late grade school that I would start to get the comments like, oh, I bet you hear this all the time. I'm like, what? Courtney Cox. And then I look, eventually through, down the line, like, oh yeah, Courtney Cox and Friends, Monica, I think it is, whatever. Then I looked her up, but like, no, she spells her name wrong, or she spells it differently, I should say.
Yeah,
you're spelling my name wrong.
Exactly. And it's funny because when I try to Google you, the top question is Courtney Cox's husband. And then I'm thinking, why would that be so interesting? You're not married. And then I realized that Courtney Cox, the actress, was married to David Arquette. So anyway, we had to get that out of the way, because I'm sure people think all the time, how could you have such a name? And yeah, I've seen it before with your social media, that people think that they're writing to the other Courtney Cox.
It's very annoying, but it does crack me up from time to time.
Did you ever think about changing your name?
No. Why should I? I don't know. Well, I mean, I guess I kind of did, because CC Shred kind of thing. That's more for social media, so people don't get confused, but it happens anyway.
Right. Yeah. Well, CC Shred's kind of become the brand as well. So talk to me about growing up in Philly.
Well, I was technically somewhat outside Philly. We call it Delaware County, which is where I always say Delco from Wawa. Mm-hmm. It was weird. No, I can't really say weird. I know it's just like any small town, factory town, which is where I'm from. Everyone knows everyone and blah, blah, blah. And then, going through grade school, played in the band, played clarinet. And it wasn't until I got to 13 that I asked my parents for a guitar randomly. They thought I was psycho. And then, that just kind of took off from there. I joined, since I had no friends and I was playing guitar all the time, my mom enrolled me in this thing called Paul Green School of Rock. Skipped most of my lessons, but by 15, they had me on tour with Adrian Blue, John Anderson from Yes. And I started a band through those tours with all the other metalheads on the tour with me. We did an all-female King Diamond tribute called Queen Diamond. Then by 18, I kind of just wanted to get out because the Philly scene, it was a really big thrash scene when I was really young. So I really got into thrash and stuff. But by the time I was 18, it kind of moved into the hipster scene. And I hate to use that term because people view that as derogatory and blah, blah, blah. But it really turned artsy, I should say. And I just wanted out. So I moved to California.
Well, so before you get to California, so when you're in school, are there other kids who are into metal like you? Especially were there other girls into it?
Grade school, no. And even me, like, diving into the metal scene, because my older brother Rick's an avid metal fan. So we would always get into a fight because I would steal his CDs and stuff or cassettes. So, like, I think my first metal or thrash CD was Kill 'Em All. And then I was listening to Backstreet Boys at the same time. So it was a very weird mix.
Yeah, well, that's not a bad mix. And you knew that Backstreet Boys was better than NSYNC even then.
Oh, Backstreet Boys, yeah, till death, basically. I still want to see them, actually. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But my friends, grade school, not so much. Because other than like playing in the band, like I said, doing clarinet, the other side of my life was sports. So I was really a jock, and then this band geek. And it wasn't until I got to high school, it was just, full ride. And I was playing lacrosse at the time, but I got into a really bad car accident which stopped the whole sports thing. But I view it as a blessing because I focus on guitar more. But even the early years of high school, freshman year, sophomore, I only had a few like metal friends. Other than that, I was still trying to keep up with like my jock friends or, or the cheerleaders and stuff. I was the awkward kid. I was the black sheep in my friends, I was the one that listened to metal, basically.
And really listened to metal. I mean, you weren't listening. I mean, you listened to everything, but you were really inspired by, Metallica and Pantera and bands like King Diamond. Yeah. I mean, I can't think of a girl in high school who knew King Diamond. It's not like you weren't listening to Bon Jovi. You were definitely ahead of your time in some ways.
I mean, well, gender aside, I didn't know anyone in high school that knew who King Diamond was. The only person I knew who knew King Diamond or Merciful Fate or any of the thrash bands I was listening to was my brother because I was stealing his CDs.
Yeah. So that's where the influence comes from.
Yes. And he hated me. It's my music, not yours.
Did he play music as well?
Yes, he's a great drummer, great thrash drummer.
You could have the Cox family, stop me if you've heard this already, but you could have the whole Cox family quartet or something.
Actually, me and my brother, he's in a band right now called Ultimate Power Corrupts. You should look him up or have him on your podcast thing. But we've been talking recently, like, hey, how about you come do drums on my solo record, and then I'll come do solos on your releases and stuff. So we've been talking about it. That's
a good cross promotion. Bands don't always stay together, but you can't get rid of your family. So exactly. It's probably the safest bet. So, okay, so I want to say while you're in the School of Rock, you got to play with crazy people like George Lynch, and there's something about you, Courtney. I find that you're not really scared of anything. I've seen you jam with tons of people. You throw yourself into things. You're the first one to go. And listen, a million songs. You're not just. There's a lot more to your playing than just the Iron Maidens, obviously. So, what was it like being a kid and playing with George Lynch?
Oh, I still remember. We were outside. It was a really cold December. We were playing at a School of Rock in Downingtown, Pennsylvania, playing outside in the middle of winter. I remember I was like, I had my I forget what the live album was from Doc. It was a Beast in the East or whatever it was. I had it. And it was the only time I was kind of like shaking because he showed up with a cigarette and he cheers, cigarette just pocket. I'm like, oh, he's like Mr. Rockstar badass because he just walked past through all of us. And I came to the back, like, can you sign this? He's like, oh, you had this. Great. But then we went on stage and we did Mr. Scary. And then he went on to do like a Pink Floyd cover with the other kids and stuff. But I just remember like the beginning of Mr. Scary, I'm like, this is happening right now. I'm playing with George Lynch.
How old were you?
Can't even remember. It's probably late 15, probably 16. You can find it on YouTube, actually. It's actually up.
Yeah, I got to look for that. It's insane because, look, George can be an intimidating guy to somebody of any age. And I've seen adult musicians tank Mr. Scary. So to be 15 years old and you play his signature instrumental song, it takes guts.
And I remember, like, because, I had these gloves on, like, waiting to go on. And he came up, he's like, can I steal one of those? And he took one of my gloves and put it on. I forget how cold it was, but yeah, you shouldn't have been outside playing. It was way too cold. Then to go out in the cold playing Mr. Scary, no warm up, no nothing. It was.
Yeah, it's
you'll see in the video if you find it.
Did he smoke the entire time?
What was that? I'm sorry.
Did he smoke the entire time?
I only saw the unlit cigarettes, and I don't know if he smokes anymore. But I think he did the thing. He smoked away from the kids. But
well, I'll tell you a funny story. A few years back, we did this rock and roll fantasy camp experience thing, and I was a judge, and Eddie Trunk was a judge, and Ace Frehley was there. It was really a fun event. But so George Lynch would get up and jam with the campers. And there was one kid who was an amazing guitar player, and he might have been 11 or 12. But George got down to sort of play, trade with him, but had a lit cigarette and was just blowing smoke in the kid's face.
Oh, no.
I thought it was a great introduction to rock and roll, but some people thought it was inappropriate.
Yeah, and lung cancer.
and maybe a little lung cancer.
It is rock and roll, right? Yeah.
But yeah, and George is definitely a personality. I mean, like I said, he is intimidating and he's very dry, and you never know. So being a kid, and so how did you do?
I thought I did well, but to paint a picture, this was the time. It was the time frame that he came out with that dojo thing he was doing. Mm-hmm. So he was in his like bodybuilder era, George Lynch. So he was massive. So I was like, I think I did quite well. I mean, I could hear the video in my head right now. It's like, if you watch it, you could tell I was slightly nervous, but it's just like focused.
Have you seen him since?
Yes, and I'm good friends with his daughter, Mariah.
Right, and she's married to the guy from Judas Priest, right?
I think so, yeah. And they have a new daughter. It's so cute.
Yeah, see, everyone's keeping metal in the family. So, yeah. But did you tell George, hey, I was a kid and jammed with you? No,
because I never want to get into that position like he doesn't remember, then you're that person. But it's always in the back of my head.
Yeah, well, you've been playing music long enough. The worst thing is when someone comes over and says, don't you remember me? And
well, I have the same thing that, even fans like the Maidens stuff, it could be from a tour like 10 years ago, like, hey, you remember me? I'm just like, I'm sorry, I don't.
They don't realize that you have to do this nightly as part of your job, and it's not that you can't remember, don't want to remember.
Well, that part's not a job. I mean, it's attached to the job, but I'm always the one that stays behind after sound check to see the opening bands or hang out in the crowd. But just after so many shows over the last, how many years has it been? I mean, when I joined like 2008, 2009, like some things start to run together.
Well, and you've been in these same, as you've been touring, you've been in these same venues 5-6 times, and
plus,
and if not more. So anyway, so you started building up your experience playing with established musicians at that time. You started touring. What's it like being a kid touring before you're even 18?
Oh, it was terrifying. But that's the one thing through the school rock thing that really, looking back, because I was always fighting the school. Because even when I started playing guitar, I didn't really do well with lessons and stuff. So even like being a part of the school, I would skip the lessons because I wanted to teach myself, kind of thing. So I had this thing in my head that, and I saw it through friends I was going to the school with. They're like, oh, I can tell who your teacher is because you sound exactly like him. So I kind of put up that wall that I didn't want to turn into one of those people. And I, obviously School Rock, you also got like normal school, like truancy. They're like, oh, you missed this many lessons this month, and blah, blah, blah.
That's
But it was going on tour, and it wasn't so much, being on like they get like a bus thing, but it was like a Vegas bus. It wasn't like a tour bus, but it was like Vegas bus with the 40 seats. So the 40 seats would be filled with all these little kids. They would have the tour managers, this and that. And yeah, every day you had to account for all the gear. You have to keep note of load in, sound check, this and that. So that was already starting to build up this business sense in the kids. But then the other side, seeing like what the owner of the school had to go through to get paid, like the business side of stuff that most people don't even put into anything. That was more the learning curve for all of us to see, because eventually you're going to get past 18, 21. You're going to move to California. You're going to do this. You're going to have to know to take care of yourself, basically, or protect yourself from the weasels in the music business. So thing with the School Rock, especially if you're part of the All-Stars, which is what I was a part of from the Philly school, was seeing the dark side of the business, thing.
Which I think might be some of the more valuable lessons. Nowadays you can learn how to play on YouTube. Kids are doing it every day. But to see what it's like to be on the road and try to get paid and all the other things.
Where's the hotel? It's a lot of things people don't even put into consideration when they want to go on tour. So
yeah.
Sometimes you have to do all this stuff yourself. A lot of people just think it's handed over to you.
Yeah, and for sure. And so, Courtney, at this time, you really dedicated your life to playing. And like you said, for the most part, you're self-taught. You worked on your own playing, but it doesn't happen overnight. You put a lot of time into it. Were you dating at this time? Were you dating musicians?
Oh, when I first started, it was, on the East Coast, like I had the basements, I had the separate garages. So I'd be out there 8 or 9 hours a day. And that was before the touring started, and we had the sound ordinance at 8 p.m. So my parents had to like drag me out of the garage and stuff. I gave up all my friends because, I wasn't playing sports anymore. I can say I didn't even have my first kiss till 18. I was so into music and that kind of stuff. So it was all just music, and it kind of still is to this day.
Yeah, well, it paid off for you. You put your time into it to be, to do it well. So let's and the ultimate goal being a full-time working musician, which you are. But before we get too much into that, let's talk about. So you have this plan to go to California, and I hear this. I interview somebody every single day, and you do hear this a lot. So what was the plan? Did you have a place to stay? Did you have any money? What was going to happen?
Well, the start of it was I gave my mom a week's notice. Like, hey, by the way, Mom, next week I'm moving to California. I had a place to stay with a friend, but literally left with, a suitcase and a guitar. And the minute my feet landed, it was, oh God, you got to find people, this, that. And I think the first band I found was an all-girl Kiss tribute. I forget what the name was. So long ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I did the Ace thing for a while, then that didn't, they kind of fell apart. But it was through that band that they're like, oh, did you hear this band called the Maidens is looking for an Adrian Smith? And I was like, oh, I've heard of them before, back when I was in Philly with the Queen Diamond thing, because we would look up videos of them, like, oh, what are the other all-female tributes doing? And I remember it was the MySpace era. So I sent them like, here's me, here's all the videos. And I sent the video of me with George Lynch, Mr. Scary, blah, blah, blah. So I sent it all over to their MySpace at the time. And then like after a week, I didn't get a response. So it was like, they don't like me, blah, blah, blah. But then Linda eventually got a hold of me through email. She's like, oh, we just want to let you know that we can't respond to you on MySpace because you have your messages turned on.
Your own fault.
So I unlocked that, and then boom, they're like, come in for an audition. Now the first audition, come in for the second one. And the second one literally was the next day, and they gave me 5 new songs to do basically overnight to see how fast I could learn. Second one, perfect. And the rest is history.
And Maiden wasn't one of your primary influences, though. I mean, I'm sure you liked it, but
I think my first Maiden record was Dance with Death when I was a freshman in high school. I mean, I had the other albums, but I really wasn't zoning in on Maiden at the time. I always loved Adrian Smith, but I was a thrash girl at the time. So that's the funny part.
yeah, no. And so, what was it like having to learn all those Adrian Smith parts in the beginning?
Well, I always say I'm the kind of player, as long as I can sing it to myself, I can play it. But after learning, 20 songs right out the gate, you start to notice, repeating phrases and stuff like that. You can really zone in on a player. So it was fairly easy for me. And even my tone is kind of based around his tone from like late 80s, stuff like that. So it's just second nature, basically. And I always hate saying that. Everyone's like, oh, it's not that easy, but.
Well, you worked for it, and you do the best that you're an honest interpretation of it, of Adrian Smith. And while that might not be for your solo playing, you might set up differently, but you're giving Iron Maiden fans what they want to see. Have you met Adrian Smith before?
Yes.
And what does he have to say?
I remember the first time I met him, it was at NAMM, I forget how many years ago, but he was there releasing the second model of his signature guitar through them. And they dragged me in and were like, Adrian, meet Adriana Smith. I was just like, oh, you had to say that, didn't you? Mm-hmm. Embarrassing. He approves, and I mean, even the Maidens as a whole, they approve and give us the blessing. So, I mean, if they didn't, we would stop.
Of course. I think that the gimmick of the names, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but you guys having the female version names, I feel like that's died down a little bit, and that your own personality.
I gave up on mine. So certain members in the band still hold on to it, but I gave up a long time ago.
I think that it's more than a tribute now. When it started, sure, was the first female tribute to Iron Maiden, but I think that now your own personalities have shown, and you guys have built this. It's a party, people. The music of Iron Maiden is timeless, but people come to see you guys, and you guys are on all of the cruises, and you play all the show. You play so many places. I mean, to watch Iron Maidens grow, a lot of tribute bands come and go. You guys are. This is it. It's doing so well, and I think it can go as long as all you guys.
They started in 2001. I mean, for a tribute, that's pretty impressive.
Yes. And for it to keep growing and for it to keep being good, because that's another thing.
What, 20 years? Like, Christ, right? Yes.
Math is not on this. Math is not on this test. So, okay, so you're playing it now in LA, and you're in the Iron Maidens, but you're working too. This is not, in the beginning, this is not a full-time gig. So just tell me what it's like juggling everything.
When I first joined the Maidens, obviously the Maidens weren't touring that much when I first joined, because one, we didn't have a singer. We didn't have Kirsten yet when I first joined. So there was a good year that we were auditioning singers. So I started running a coffee shop, and I ran the coffee shop for a good 6 years. And I gotta say, it was tough because, coffee shop, you have to be there at 3 a.m. So we'd be coming from shows when we were the full band. And it'd be like San Diego, you get to leave the venue at almost 2, and like, yep, I got to drive all the way to Moore Park, California, which is pretty far from San Diego, to open up a shop 3:45. And I would show up in my leather pants and all this stuff, and the owner of the place would come in like, you didn't sleep, did you? Like, nope. But I work at a coffee shop.
So yeah,
but it was tough in that sense. But after that 6 years, the band really started, amping up on the touring. And other than like a couple of years around 2013, bartending for a year or two. Other than that, it's been the band full time.
Yeah, when I first met you, you were still bartending, but playing a lot. But you were smart. And listen, rents in LA are not cheap by any means. No. But it's been really, and I'm talking about, pre-pandemic, obviously, but it was really amazing to see it grow and to see that you were in, such demand. And I knew it because we had you out here in Vegas to play with Sin City Sinners, my group of guys that I've managed. And
Yeah.
Yeah, and Nita as well. Nita Strauss, who was in Iron Maiden at the time, and now is currently playing with Alice Cooper. But it was a lot of fun. But Nita kind of knew what she knew, and she would even tell me, Courtney can jam whatever, you name the song, and Courtney knows it. And we learned that night that you're sort of ready. And I think that put you in demand with other people when they needed it, because like I said, you always were guesting with somebody, and you were always playing around town, and you're doing the jams. And so I want to talk a little bit about Femme Fatale. So Femme Fatale was, in the hard rock scene in I'm going to guess 90, something like that, 89, right? And so
right when I was born, yeah.
Yes, well, but Lorraine Lewis, who's the singer, she's a smart woman, and she needed to put together a lineup. And so she got you. And at the time, she got Nita Strauss as well. Pretty much some of the Iron Maidens. And what worked well is because if you guys did a Monsters of Rock cruise, you could have Femme Fatale in the morning and Iron Maidens at night. And same thing with M3, because I remember doing M3 with you guys. And you were one day you were one band, and one day you were the next band. And so tell me a little bit.
The M3 was just Femme Fatale, which is funny because that came up on my memories on Facebook like today or yesterday.
Me too. Yeah, it's funny.
But actually, when I got the call from Lorraine, funny enough, me and Nita were living together in the Valley out in California. So like I was out, I think I was coming home from work from the coffee shop. And I'm like, yeah, I just got this call from Lorraine Lewis. Remember we were listening in the car to Femme Fatale like weeks ago. We were like, oh, she's a great singer. Because we would always do that driving around. And she's like, funny enough, I just got the call too, but Lorraine didn't know that we lived together.
It's like a Three's Company kind of thing.
Yes. But down the line, obviously we was Linda on the cruise? No, Linda, we did one of the cruises as it was, oh God. See, I haven't even thought about this in a long time.
That might have been 2013, I'm guessing.
Well, the only other time someone else from the Maidens was involved was Linda. She did M3 because Athena broke her shoulder. So that's why she was at M3. But I think the first cruise, Monsters Rock cruise we ever did, it was Rachel Rhine, Paradise Kitty, and Athena drumming. They went back and forth. Yeah, see, my brain's like, shh.
Now, Athena is Tommy Lee's sister also, for those who don't know.
Yes.
And I think she was on the Houses, the heart, whatever the wife show is called.
Ex-Wives of Rock.
Thank you. Yes. You should be co-hosting with me, Courtney, when it comes time to pull out this knowledge. You've got it. So,
sometimes the elephant brain kicks in, sometimes not.
Sure. Now we're looking at a photo here. This is a little bit of a different lineup, though, because I see Nikki.
That was the last lineup.
Okay. And then Kat, who plays keyboards, I see her on the end.
Kat was there from the start when me and Nita joined. Janice from L7 was there from the start. And when did Nikki come in? That must have been 2013-ish.
Maybe even a little later. Maybe a little later.
She was playing for the Maidens when she did the Femme Fatale thing, because obviously Nita was doing the Alice Cooper thing. And I think, it must have been 2013 then.
Yeah, I think a little later. I think Nita got Alice Cooper in 2014, 2015. So maybe a little tiny bit later. Doesn't matter. But anyway, I worry about
myself and my timelines. Interviews.
Sure. Yeah, and so and anyway, Lorraine ended up becoming the lead singer for Vixen, and and I think that sort of puts a hold on Femme Fatale.
Well, the last cruise we were on, it was technically the end of Femme Fatale, but you never know.
Yeah, I mean, again, Lorraine does a really good job. She kind of rebranded that thing and made it fun. And you guys, we could talk about this now a little bit. Obviously, there's this. These are hot chicks. We're gonna go see these hot chicks. There's a.
It's not about the looks, honestly. You can't really hear with your eyes, can you?
I think that there's a video on YouTube that would beg to differ. It's called Courtney Cox, Nita Strauss, Boobs, and it has millions of views. Now, This,
You know what? I have a vagina too. I'm female, so
that might be that could be the
oh,
secret.
I woke up with boobs. Oh my god.
But what's amazing is, so you and Nita are at the NAMM show, and you guys are jamming, and your playing is great, but your boobs happen to be there too. Imagine that. And
over the guitar, and that's where that meme started. And everyone, I mean, to this day, I still get tagged in it. Did you see this meme? Like, why are guitars shaped this way?
yeah, it's never going to go away. But listen, who cares? And the way I look at it is, I laugh when people try to give you this title that you're you're the best female guitar player, whereas you're an amazing guitar player whether you were female or not.
No one can be the best at anything if you really break it down.
Right.
Some people prefer, musicians over other musicians, and that's just fact of life. But you can't really say someone's the best at anything. Any career, you can't really, because you can always learn. And that's why I hate when people say that. It's like,
yeah, it seems like an unfair title. But then to put this little asterisk on it, female as well, it seems to be ridiculous. But I think at the end of the day, the fact that video has millions of hits, the fact that people know who you are, is a good thing. Listen, Nuno Bettencourt played plenty of shows without a shirt on, or Joe Perry.
I say the same thing when everyone says, like, because, I used to wear just like a spangly bra, and everyone's like, oh, she's being so sexist and sexual. I'm like, I had Kip Winger on my wall, I had Red Beach on my wall. All the people, even Metallica's, some of the posters I had on my wall, all shirtless.
Yeah. They
knew what they were doing too. So
completely new. And in your case, it's not a gimmick. You are an attractive female.
I knew what I was doing. Like, not to go into personal life, but even when I was doing those tours with School Rock 15, whatever, I was pushing 200 pounds. I was the one that was being made fun of. I was the fattest kid on the tour, and mentally it was crushing. So when I moved out to California, I lost like 80 pounds and stuff. So of course I'm gonna wear a spangly bra. I've never been able to show my stomach before. So it was kind of more of like an empowerment to me from being teased most of my life for being an overweight, kid teen. So that's the way I put it.
100%.
Not a lot of people know that, but that's.
Yeah. I mean, I knew that about you from meeting you, and hearing it. And then I was fortunate to meet some of your family as well at that M3 show. And so to overcome losing, all that weight and things, who wouldn't want to flaunt it, And it's not that you're flaunting for approval. You're comfortable with who you are, and that goes for all the other ladies too, But so what I also find interesting is you did some modeling as well, and so there are these photos of you in bikinis and things like that. That probably somewhere people think this is some kind of taboo thing, but it's not.
It was for a Guitar World too,
right?
And I didn't win the modeling contest to someone that was friends with or family. I shouldn't say that, but
well, so explain it a little bit, because Guitar World puts out a catalog every year.
Yeah, I don't think they don't anymore because everyone got up in arms.
It would be canceled. Yeah. But so how does it? What do you have to do to be part of that? Did you go out and take those photos yourself?
Well, obviously I hired. What was his name? But I hired actually one of a bigger musician photographer to do it for me. God, his name's escaping me right now. He was a friend of mine, but that was the thing. Just send in the photos. But I think I was the only one that it put in photos for the contest that actually played guitar. That's why people got pissed off I didn't win.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
God, that was what, 2009? Gosh, take me back on memory lane.
Yes. Well, but I think what's funny about this is that people, Google you or whatever, and then they see these things and they think, oh, she was a model.
It's always the photos like 19 through 20, whatever. It's just, but you know what? You can't fight Google. I just hope people just don't. It's not looks. You just use your ears, please.
Well, yeah, but you're a smart businesswoman, and you've learned to use everything you can to sort of as an advantage to your career. And if it's, if somebody sees a picture of you and sees you play, good.
I will say my boobs do not get me my endorsements. My boobs do not get, my looks are, not just saying boobs or because people think I'm just boobs. But any endorsement with any music company, it did not come from my looks. It was, they listened to me, and you don't send photos, you send yourself playing.
Oh, sure.
Because they don't want to see photos of yourself. So
It wouldn't sell a product.
Any of the younger kids, or any, regardless of gender, that's going to watch this right now or is watching, just don't send photos. Just send yourself playing.
Yes, and nowadays, if you were trying out for a gig, in most cases, you'd either audition in person or send a video. You couldn't just send a tape of yourself playing or just a picture of yourself. You have to be a package if you want to succeed in this industry, and you were smart enough.
Fortunately, but you have to go through it the right way, especially now, like watching these girls on TikTok and Instagram reels. I'm like, I'm sitting there like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, man, and they're younger than 18, and just like sitting there like, oh, just know that when you get older, once you get past 18 or 21, people start using their ears. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't want to attack TikTok and the new wave of guitar players on social media, but some of them just watching, like, stop. Just play. Stop doing the whole, I'm trying to say, I'm getting flustered.
No, I get it. Well,
I'm Mama Bear.
Yeah, but it's funny because when I met you, you were the life of the party. Now you're the Mama Bear. But well, everyone thinks they're an influencer of some sort, and unfortunately, I feel like with people learning how to play guitar on YouTube, you sometimes get one-trick ponies, and so maybe you get somebody who will never learn how to play with feeling, possibly never learn how to write a song, but they can get through 30 seconds on TikTok of a shred technique.
Yeah, that's the really bad thing about social media. I'm like, YouTube's great. I mean, I didn't have, when I was young, YouTube was, God, what was YouTube when I was young? But you didn't have what you have now.
Mm-hmm.
People instructing, that kind of stuff. I mean, when I first started, we were still watching like the old RH tapes, VHS tapes and stuff like that.
I had a Mel Bay book.
Me too. Yeah. And I didn't even have the tab. It was just actual notation.
Yeah. I had Bumblefoot on here a few weeks ago, and he still remembered all the Mel Bay lessons and took a guitar out, and he says, "Is this striking?" And it's sort of haunted me, you know.
Yeah. Who was the one big guy from the Mel Bay? It was a blonde guy. God.
Well, there was Wolf Marshall too, who started writing, and then my first guitar teacher, I Googled you, YouTubed you, and I see him interviewing you, which was Nick Bocott from Grim Reaper.
Yeah,
isn't that funny? And he's one of the great, metal guitar players. I wanted to be this like punk guitar player, but Nick was like, you got to listen to, Tony Iommi, stuff like that.
Oh, he's so great.
Yeah, so there are people out there who have a good message about music and learning. There are ways to learn, but I think just learning how fast to play, as you know, it's only going to get you so far. Yeah,
because I remember, like I did things with Nick Bocott up at Sweetwater and stuff like, and when I do clinics and stuff, I'm like, I can teach you to shred fast. I can teach you to do this, blah blah blah. But things like vibrato, John Sykes, like, not to toot my own horn, but I know my vibrato is great because that was the one thing I focused on when I was a kid. So that's the kind of stuff you can't teach. You just have to figure out that stuff on your own. So trying to tell that to the younger generation, stuff like that, they just don't want to hear it because they rather just do 30 seconds and get 100,000 likes on TikTok.
Right.
But eventually you're going to have to go on stage. You're not just going to be behind a camera doing your 100th take to post on TikTok. So what do you want to do? That's, even to this day, people are like, are you going to, do lessons online and stuff? But I always take a step back because I'm like, I don't know what people want out of me, if that makes sense. Like, are you going to be playing live? Or are you just doing little TikTok stuff? Or
well, I think you would be great for lessons, online lessons. But I think one of your strong points, though, is also your experience. And like you were saying, learning from School of Rock, because music is a total package. It's very rare you find somebody who's just so good they can be sheltered away. You need to learn the whole thing. And I think that you could give a lot of advice to that. There are so many women who are players who are getting mansplained to constantly. I think you're at the point now where when you go into a venue, these guys, because I always say these sound crews and the men at these venues are usually just jerks to anybody, and not everyone, but yeah. But there's a lot of, and meanwhile, this is a guy.
They want the tip money before you go.
Yeah, it's like working in a strip club. They're like the bouncer, but they turn up the monitor, and yet they'll give you hell. And so I think at this point, people know your playing stands on its own. But I think that that's something that people need to realize that, you're always going to have people. It's become better, though. You go to the NAMM show, go to a guitar store, go in there. There are so many more women playing and not being looked at as a woman who plays or a woman who wants to play guitar, but somebody who's invested some time into what they want to do.
Well, I mean, yes, I'm a woman guitar player. I'm so sick of hearing that. And so many interviews, like, what's it like being a female guitar player and stuff. Like, you should just ask what it's like to be a guitar player, because I'm telling you, regardless of gender, we're all going through the same shit.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can swear on this. But if it's not a female woman guitar player just saying, oh, you're only getting this because you're a woman, or on the other side of the coin, it's you could have some great 20-year-old playing better than Malmsteen or Vi, but you know what they're going to get? We are not Vi or Malmsteen, but it's the same on just anything. Just stop. The competition has to stop, and people just need to appreciate the music.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff, because
the competition becomes a marketing thing, though. Courtney, obviously, I saw a picture one year from NAMM, the ladies of NAMM or something, and I'm like, this is sort of ridiculous. And the players are players, and then there are players who get a pass, though, being a female. There's guys too who the look is better than the playing, and all of a sudden they're this sensation. I see it all the time. I'm thinking, wow, this person got that gig. You're not out there trying to sell yourself. You're actually very comfortable with yourself as far as your Instagram goes and your cat's Instagram.
I was like, stop posting about your cats. Like, I'm completely happy with myself in my musical career. I'm not trying to be anyone that I'm not. And people were like, oh, you should post more, this and that. It's like, I do have a life.
Yeah.
And I don't have to force myself to do that. Like, I'm okay. I'm happy. That's one thing most musicians can't really say. I'm happy with where I'm at. Most people are just fighting for the, of course I could be doing this and that. But I will end up where I need to be. That's my philosophy.
Well, and you're on your way there. And I want to talk about your solo career as well, because I think this is the perfect time to segue into that. Even when I first met you, you were always putting together ideas. And there was always the idea of some point at putting out a solo record. So tell me where you're at with that now. I know it's
still going. Well, the start of it was, it was like 3 years ago. It was like, okay, I had to do this clinic in Japan for young musician or whatever, young guitar, Japan. Like, oh, I don't have anything. So I wrote all these instrumentals and stuff because I didn't want to show up, playing Maiden songs, because of course you play Maiden songs. And from there, it's just, just chopping away at it. And then obviously COVID hit. And what people don't realize is how much money it takes to actually put out. And originally I wanted to just put out an EP, so like 5 or 6 tops. But now it's like, well, there's no point of doing that. Then have to, right behind it, put out a full length, which is usually 9 or 10. So I've been chipping away at a full length. But it's just going to take the time that it's going to take, because I don't want to rush anything.
And it's instrumental.
No.
Okay.
See? And I get in trouble for this one too. I find full instrumental albums very boring.
I'm with you, but
I think the only instrumental track instrumental CD I ever really got through that I kept listening to over and over again was Marty Freeman's Dragon Kiss.
Dragon Kiss, yeah, it was huge.
That was probably the only one that I would keep going back to. But for mine, of course, there's going to be a couple or a few, I should say, instrumental tracks. But I always wanted a band. I never wanted to put my name on something. But now, since COVID, obviously, I'm going to have to put out a release with my name on it. But obviously, it's going to have guest people on it. But you never know. I could turn it around again. But it's so frustrating, and people are like, just put it out, but they have no idea what goes behind the scenes, and
There's a lot, and there's a lot to do it right. You're not looking to.
this is my home studio. I'm in my kitchen right now.
Oh wow. Yeah. Well, you also don't want to put out something and sell it out of your house and do it cheap. You want to do it proper and have a good push.
Well, it's not a moneymaker. I'm not viewing it. It's for me, pretty much. That kind of thing. So it's going to take the time it needs for me to be happy, not anyone else.
Of course. I say that to everybody I talk to. Anyone making new music right now, there's no get rich quick scheme. There's not a cash grab. If things could do well, of course, but you make the music because you believe in the music and it's your legacy. And for you personally, I'm sure it's nice to have something separate from Iron Maidens so that people can see your own playing.
I don't care regardless. You know me.
Yes, I do. I thought you might have a media version, but no, you are who you are.
You're not going to change that.
In 2000, and I don't even know the year, but you played Linda McDonald of the Iron Maidens was also in a band called Phantom Blue, which was the only female shred band. I hate to throw it in on that.
I will interject. It's the only female band growing up that I ever listened to.
I was wondering.
It was only Phantom Blue. So even when I went for the first audition for the Maidens, I was fangirl when I walked in and Linda was there. I was like, the only female band in the interviews, like they were like, "Well, you're a female, whatever." I was Phantom Blue. That was it. Phantom Blue.
Yeah,
they were like the female Racer X. Boom.
100%. They definitely were, and they studied with Racer X, so it was an interesting thing.
Yeah, they had the rehearsal thing right next door. Yeah. Rehearsal space.
Yeah, and so because I had Nicole Couch on just the other day.
She was one of my idols growing up. Her and Michelle Meldrum. Boom.
Incredible guitar players, and Nicole lived in the same building as Paul Gilbert, and they have their own crazy career. But when Michelle Meldrum passed away, unfortunately at a young age, there was a show at the Whiskey as a benefit show, and so Nicole was not able to play. I don't know where she was at that time, but she's had a stroke and she's had some other issues, and traveling wasn't always going to be easy for her. So you played, and she saw it, and she really loved your playing and had kind words as well.
Yeah,
but so what was that like?
I know. Well, I was nervous. I mean, Maiden stuff, I was never nervous, but like for that benefit show, I was like, oh, because I had to go. I had to play "Going Mad." Mm-hmm. Yeah, "Going Mad." It was just, "We're going mad." That was one of my favorite songs growing up. Since I started playing guitar, so I'm like, okay, no pressure. But it was me and Tina. I forget her last name, but she plays in a very famous AC/DC tribute out here. I forget I don't think I did another. I think that was the only Phantom Blue song I did. And then they did the Thin Lizzy cover stuff. I think the only Phantom Blue thing I did was "Going Mad." But I remember I was so scared. I saw the photos, like me backstage, like, I can't fuck this up. I can't fuck this up.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of pressure.
When Gigi fucking walks on stage, she better be prepared.
Yeah, I could only imagine.
And the fact to play with Linda and Gigi, and I think Kim was playing on bass too. So we had three. It was great.
Yeah, no, what a cool opportunity, and I think that those opportunities were leading to more for you, because at that point, like I said, you were starting to get invited to a lot of jams and playing with anyone. And if you go on one of these cruises or anything, you'll play with anybody, anytime. The other day I saw you playing with Firehouse, and
that was fangirl. But yeah, even with Fangirl, we're still talking about it, like, we should bring it back. We should bring it back. I don't know who's going to do it. We talked to Kim. We talked to Nicole. I said we should bring it back. We talked to Gigi, but it'll take time to see like who wants to do it, who doesn't want to do it. But I think since they were so mistreated back in the 80s, because they didn't know how to deal with them, Geffen, because he had the other girl bands doing whatever they were doing, but it wasn't Phantom Blue. Phantom Blue was the metal band, and I've heard the stories that I've seen it through the video stuff. Just the record labels didn't know what to do with them, so I'm like, well, better late than never. Let's just come back. I think it'd be huge.
I think there would be so much interest in it, and I think you would be a great addition to that, and people would be excited. It's funny how people discover things, even if it's 25, 30 years later, people are finding out. I want to talk about your guitars a little bit, because this is a big honor to have your own signature guitars. And so we're going to share.
I worked for it when I was young. Got my first deal at 15 through Jackson, but now within the last 4 years now with comparison, and that's the thing. I think I have it here in the background. If you want to go back, I've been recording, so that's Greenie. But the first one that came out was Pink Sapphire, which is put away right now. But yeah, over the last 5-6 years, this company approached me, Comparison, out of Japan. Like, oh, you should play this, play that. Like, just give it a try. And literally, it was the best thing that I've ever played. And then, after a few years, the head designer saw me at Dime Bash. I forget what Dime Bash. I think it was about. I can't think of the year. He's like, he pulled me aside after seeing me play live, as he hasn't before. He's like, oh, I want to talk to you about a signature model. Yeah, there's the pink one. And I didn't have to do much. I'm very simple, because the Horus M3 was already perfect for me. But the things we adjusted were like, there's a bigger cutaway behind the fretboard.
Mm-hmm.
And the pickups are different. Other than that, I'm very, very easy. And, when it comes to guitar stuff, so didn't have to change much, because it was already perfect for me. So. Yeah,
and it looks like you've got a pretty simple thing, as far as your knobs go. You don't have too much going on.
I hardly even use the neck pickup, and even like shredding and stuff, I just use the bridge pickup, because I view shredding on the neck pickup as hiding, because you get that whoosh down. But yeah, I don't need much.
And so these are your primary guitars now, obviously, and people can buy these, right?
Yep, Sweetwater, Musician's Friend, Guitar World, Comparison.com. Browse me with the Vandy. It's one of my prized possessions, Vandenberg.
Oh, wow. Yeah, very cool. So, okay, yeah. So, and I'm going to put the links to these things down below, and also.
As I'm talking about that photo, everyone else can see that too, right?
Say it again. That
photo with me with the pink guitar just came out. That's actually not a Comparison. That's Vandenberg.
Oh, God, that's why you're saying it's one of your prized possessions. Yeah. Okay, got it. Yeah, actually, that's a great story. Tell us how you got that Vandenberg guitar.
I did a video for Peavey, because I used to have an endorsement with Peavey, for a long time. They asked me to do some video auto-tune guitar for them, but it went over like 1 million views, and that was pretty much the start of YouTube, when you can get over 1 million views and stuff. Mm-hmm. And they asked me like, oh, do you want to be paid? I'm like, no, I just want an Adrian Vandenberg. And they pulled one out of the vault for me. That's how like,
which now is incredibly rare and valuable. You probably made the right move.
Yes. Yeah, I had a decision between that and a black one, but the black one had a cracked headstock, so I took the raspberry one.
Yeah, which is.
And every time I post it on my Facebook to this day, Adrian Vandenberg's like, nice guitar.
How cool. So. Yeah, how cool. Here's one more of you with your guitar.
Yes, that's Greenie.
Yeah, and these are all similar to the guitars that you were playing with Jackson to an extent, style.
Well, I mean, color, but I mean, shape-wise, no.
Right.
No. The stuff I have with Jackson, especially the green one I had with Jackson, was actually a one-of-a-kind Adrian Smith model, because Adrian Smith's assistant, I forget his name, he always wears a kilt, but Jackson had to get the okay from Adrian to make me the absent green Adrian Smith Jackson I have, so it's one of a kind.
Gotcha. That's pretty cool to know then.
Yeah, it's pretty, yeah. And everyone's like, can I buy it off you? Like, nah.
No, I think you hold on to those things, because they're
all my Jacksons are retired, because most of them are Adrian Smith models, so they're in the vault.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And also, you have your own endorsement now, and so of course you're going to play your guitars. Tell me about. I mean, I know this is last year at least has been a lost year, but tell me a little bit about what Iron Maidens has ahead, because you have been playing again.
Yeah, we had a couple shows. A couple weeks ago, a few weeks ago. We were in Arizona. Recently, God, I don't even know because I haven't looked at the schedule. I think our next show is June 11th in Arizona again at the Marquee, and then after that we're doing a run up north somewhere, and then announced today I think M3,
right?
M3, and then after that I don't even know because we're kind of just taking it tour to tour because no one knows.
Of course, yeah. You mean you've been around the world with this band, and that's one of the things that's so amazing about the music of Iron Maiden, but also your guys' tribute to it, is that it works everywhere.
Yeah, it's like religion. There we go.
Yeah, and that's why this can go on as long as you guys want it to.
As long as people want it, we'll be there.
Yeah, so. And it's very good for you too, because it's while you've been working on your solo thing and not rushing it, this has given you the time. Obviously, it pays some bills. Obviously, it makes people aware of you as well.
Yeah, and if they don't, I don't really care, as you know me.
Yes, well, you say that, and you are one of the more laid-back people I know, but at the same time, you also value your business. You have a website.
I value my business. I have my merch. I have this and that. But you know what? I could lose my left hand tomorrow and be completely happy with my life and what I've accomplished so far. Know what I mean?
If you lost your right hand, you could be like Steve Vai.
Just do it.
Have you seen these videos? Steve Vai now is playing just with his left hand, and he's better than most people with two hands.
Yeah, well, he has good legato. That's why he can do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I could lose both arms. I would just to paint a better picture. I could lose both arms tomorrow and be completely happy with what I've accomplished so far. So, I'm trying, especially during COVID, living in the moment. Don't want to project too much into the future because no one knows. I mean, I don't think any musician right now, barring not watching the news or anything, has no idea what the next couple of years has in store for anyone.
Yeah, so. I agree. And you hear different things from different places and people. And I think some is more optimistic than realistic at times. So, yeah. As you
I know. I'm just living in the now.
Yeah, I think not watching the news is sometimes the best thing. And I think one of the reasons why I started doing this, and most of the people that I've interviewed, we don't really talk about this year. People already know what's going on. And there's not much new.
You don't have to remind people.
Sure. Why depress people? So at the same time, I think people have had the time to watch, new things. I feel like I've gotten more done this year than ever. I tell people I'm going to miss this pandemic, when real life comes back, because as soon as they said there was going to be a lockdown, I sat down and started catching up on goals that may have been 10, 20 years old. And I'm pretty sure it's the same with you. You've traveled, you've been writing, you've been working.
But the other side of it is like, some days or some months I should say I wanted to play. Some months I did not want to touch a guitar at all. The other side, removing myself from what I do for a career, COVID, beneficial side of it was, because I was always on tour 75% of the year constantly. So now I, stuck at home for almost year and a half now, or whatever it is. I could work on my relationship with my better half, be at home, that kind of stuff. So I take the bad with the good. I can't tour, I can't do this, but I can work on recording this and that, and then just relationship, being a homebody, because a lot of people don't realize when all these bands are on tour, and it actually works more in favor when guys go on tour, not to do the gender thing, but most people don't realize when women go on tour, it's a whole different, thing, especially if you want a family or, want this or that. So I think COVID for me, the good side of it was I could be home with my partner and my cats, even though they hate me right now. You know what I mean?
Of
So
course. Well, this is actually, there's two sides. The cats probably want you out, but in a relationship, this is the ultimate test, because you're going to find out real fast when you're stuck with somebody in such close proximity.
24/7 or
Yeah, it's a lot.
no, actually, I found the worst thing was being gone longer, because then, separation anxiety for me is like, it's actually easier to be home 24/7, or trying to juggle time differences and,
Well, and that was your life pre-pandemic,
was
because
for the last like 12 years or whatever it was. Yeah, just constantly tour to tour to tour. I would only be home to do laundry, go off again.
Yeah, I remember seeing you, like, on the cruise, drinking at 4 a.m. or so, and then sleeping at the gate, for the airport the next day at 9 a.m, knowing that you're going somewhere. Yeah, going somewhere else ridiculous, and it might take you 3 or 4 flights to get there, just to start that cycle again.
Just to get up on stage and, the first note of the first song. It is very challenging. A lot of people don't realize it. They think it's like luxury and rock star mode, but actually touring and doing that kind of stuff from month to month and not seeing your family, not doing this, is actually really bad for, your mental state. Physically, you really have to be prepared for it. Like I always say, if being a musician was easy, everyone would be doing it.
Yes. Well, and the pool herds itself out, so to speak.
Very fast.
The ones who think they can do it are not the ones who survive. There's a reason that you've been able to do what you do so long, and that's a testament to your playing and and your work ethic as well.
I hope.
Yeah. Anyway, Courtney, you've had a long day of taxes.
I know, 3 hours of taxes before this. So sorry, I'm not the most energetic and in my PJs. Go Wawa.
That's all right. I think if anything, this is the time when people should do their interviews in their PJs.
Yeah. I have to go to writing after this.
What are you doing?
I have to write 3 solos for people, 3 different people, and keep working on the album. So.
Well, listen, that's a good thing. You have you don't have to sit there and go, "Oh my God, I got to go to Brazil tomorrow at 4 a.m."
Oh my God, I have to do laundry, obviously.
Yeah. Well, laundry could pile up now more than ever, but that's.
Oh, it definitely is right now. Trust me.
Yeah. Anyway, so tell us the website. I'll link it below, though. Yours.
So it's www.cc-shred.com.
And
socials is all at CC Shred.
Yeah, Courtney, I think of you as a kind of an old soul. I know that's a cliche, but when you said the www, you know what I mean? I think you're like you're old school.
I am an old soul. Yes.
But so anyway, people can check that out. Check out Iron Maiden's website as well for dates.
Yeah, www.ironmaidens.com.
Yeah, so we'll link.
We're easy to find.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen this, you got to go see it. And you can check it on YouTube and get an idea. But it's a really fun show. It's not just Iron Maiden through the motions. You guys have a lot of fun and do really good at what you do. So thank you for wasting a little time with me.
I'm sorry to wasting your time.
No, I enjoyed it.
Like I said,
Well, I was like, listen, it's sweep weeks, and everyone needs to get high YouTube counts. I'll just bring Courtney on. She'll be bringing her bikini.
Yeah, in my Wawa sweatshirt and pajamas, doing taxes and about to do laundry and record.
That's all right. All right,
well, we will see. Having me.
Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you again, and everyone else tuning in and wasting time.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be to Vegas soon.
Yes.